So we're about to dive into a Zen story that's going to make you rethink everything you thought you knew about a good deed. It's a lesson that completely flips the script on what it really means to give and to receive.
It all starts with a question that sounds completely backward, right? I mean, why on earth would a giver thank the person who received their gift? Imagine giving someone something they desperately need, and then you're the one saying, "Thank you." It sounds impossible, but, well, a famous Zen master learned this very lesson firsthand.
Okay, so picture this. Our story centers on the famous Zen Master Hakuin. It's one of those bitterly cold winter days, and he's heading back to his temple. Right there by the gate, he sees a beggar, just huddled up, shivering like crazy in the freezing air.
Hakuin, filled with compassion, does exactly what you'd expect. He takes off his own warm coat and drapes it over the beggar's shoulders. But the beggar's reaction is nothing. He just sits there staring blankly, no smile, no words of thanks, just quiet.
So after a moment of this kind of awkward silence, Hakuin is, understandably, a little puzzled. He gently prods the man, saying something like, "Hey, a simple thank you would be nice." And that's a totally natural thing to expect, right? You do something kind, they express gratitude. It's how the world works.
And this is where the story just flips on its head. The beggar looks right at Hakuin and says, "You should be thanking me. Because I was here, shivering, you were able to perform a good deed." Just let that sink in. He totally reverses the roles.
And you can just imagine, Hakuin is stunned for a second. But then, a look of complete understanding crosses his face. He actually bows his head a little and says, "Yes, you are right. Thank you." And with that, he walks into his temple, leaving us all scratching our heads and asking, what did he just figure out?
So to understand Hakuin's sudden realization, we've got to dig into a core teaching from the Diamond Sutra, which is a really foundational Buddhist text. It's all about this idea of giving something without leaving any trace of the act.
The concept is called mu-jusang-bosi, and what it really boils down to is this: giving without being attached to any of the ideas around the gift. It means you act without clinging to the thought that I am giving, you are receiving, or even this is a gift. The whole act just becomes pure, with no ego involved.
And there's this really beautiful way to visualize this, a metaphor known as the purity of the three wheels. Think of any act of giving as having three main parts, like three wheels holding everything up.
For a gift to be truly, truly pure, all three of these wheels have to be empty. So what does that mean? Well, first, the giver forgets their role as the giver. Second, the receiver forgets their role as the receiver. And finally, even the gift itself is seen without the label of a gift. When all three of those ideas just dissolve, that's when the act becomes truly selfless.
Okay, so you might be thinking, that sounds like a lot of work. What's the point of all this mental gymnastics? Well, the Diamond Sutra says the reward for giving this way is way bigger than just getting a simple thank you.
The text doesn't just give you a straight answer. Instead, it asks this incredibly poetic question. Can you measure the sky? To the east, west, north, or south? Can you actually put a number on how vast the universe is? And the answer, of course, is no, you can't measure the sky. It's impossible. In exactly the same way, the merit, or the positive result, of giving without any attachment is also immeasurable. It's infinite. The moment you stop looking for a specific reward, the reward itself becomes as boundless as space.
Now, this all sounds pretty amazing in theory, right? But let's be honest, it is incredibly difficult to do in practice. So, why is it so hard? Well, it's because our minds are constantly getting caught in what Buddhism calls the trap of attachment.
We get stuck on what are called forms or song. You can think of these as the fixed ideas and the sticky labels we put on absolutely everything. I'm a generous person. This is my money. That person owes me gratitude. This kind of mental stubbornness is what creates the very attachments that hold us back.
Here's a really practical way to feel this in your own life. If you lose a small coin, like 10 won, you probably forget about it in 5 seconds. But what if you lose 1,000,000 won? That could ruin your entire day, maybe even your week. See, the money itself is just metal and paper. It's our attachment to its value that causes the suffering. The goal is to feel about the 1,000,000 won the way we feel about the 10 won.
And that brings us right back to our Zen master, Hakuin. Because you see, that whole story with the beggar, that was just a warm-up. He actually faced an even greater test to this principle, one that honestly would have broken most of us.
So get this. One day, a young, unmarried woman from the village leaves her newborn baby at the temple, and to cover her own shame, she tells everyone that the revered Master Hakuin is the father. The scandal, as you can imagine, was immediate and absolutely huge.
So what does Hakuin do? His reputation is destroyed overnight. He's a total outcast, yet he doesn't say a single word to defend himself. He just takes the baby, and for the next decade, he lovingly raises the child. Years later, the mother, just eaten up by guilt, finally confesses the truth, and when the villagers come to apologize, totally ashamed, Hakuin's reaction is just silence. He simply hands the child back. Not a word about his reputation or the years of hardship.
You see, Hakuin's silence wasn't weakness. It was freedom. He was so unattached to the form of his own reputation that the lies and the shame, they couldn't really touch him. And this profound lesson isn't just for Zen masters. It has a very real meaning for our own lives.
This philosophy is challenging us to let go of way more than just stuff. It's about letting go of our deep-seated need for praise and recognition. It's about loosening our grip on a fixed idea of who we are, the smart one or the successful one. It's about being unattached to the story we tell about ourselves.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, what these stories teach us is that true generosity isn't really an action at all. It's a state of being. It's the freedom that comes when we act without clinging to the outcome, to our ego, or even to the very idea of ourselves. So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. What fixed idea, what form, what story about yourself or the world are you holding on to so tightly today? And what do you think might happen if you were to just let it go?